Met with cheers and jeers of weebs everywhere, the anime awards happened. Could this Marvel DC crossover be the greatest in the history of comics? Child labor laws be damned, we have a new Harry Potter. EA Games believe nerds will buy anything as long as it's got a girl in an armored bikini. All this and more on Cutting Edge Hero Live. Where's everybody else, Randy?
Oh no. I was doing so good until I wasn't.
There they are. Welcome to Cutting Edge Hero! I am the Nerd King, Danny Stewart, your host for this and every episode of Cutting Edge Hero. Tonight, I am joined by my partners in crime and my emergency contacts. Surprise, everyone. It is Jen. Jen, how you doing?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. And the one and only Landon Felter. Landon, how's it been?
I'm doing fantastic.
And then our man in the chair, the man who puts the mid and mediocre, it is the one and only Randy. Randy, how you doing over there?
It could have been better. About a B+ right now. I'm scoring myself.
You're doing great, Randy. Before we get into the news and all of the other fun stuff we're going to talk about today on the show, let's talk about the nerdiest thing we've done this week. Landon, why don't you kick us off? What's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
So the nerdiest thing I've done this week was on Memorial Day. I met up with a couple of friends here in St. Louis that I haven't seen since I moved here, and we went to Coin Op. Or not Coin Op, we went to Up Down. Sorry, getting my barcades confused.
Rest in peace, Coin Op.
Yeah,
Rest in
Coin
peace,
Op.
Everyone take a moment of silence for Coin Op. It's a pizza place now.
A good pizza place.
All right, dude, pizza place.
Jen, what is the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Well, I mostly just caught up on anime. We caught up on To Be Hero X, had 2 episodes we were behind, so we caught up with that, and then we started watching Witch Watch.
I'm not
really
familiar with
interesting.
Witch Watch, but I am current on To Be Hero X. Do you get the vibe, and maybe it's the animation as well, but To Be Hero X is like a much more adult version of Ladybug and Cat Noir. Are you familiar with that at all?
I've watched a couple of episodes of that with my kids.
So,
Yeah.
in Miraculous Ladybug, there's the villain. He's the moth guy, whatever, the monarch or whatever.
Oh,
What is happening, Randy?
What? Oh, I don't know.
Anyway,
That wasn't me.
He sends out like evil spirits or whatever, these like butterflies that like fly into people and it makes them evil, and then Ladybug has to like defeat them and then get it out of their body. And then I'm watching To Be Hero X, and like there's an evil group that is sending out this like evil stuff that is turning heroes into villains, and then they have to defeat them in order to make them normal again. And I was like, especially the first arc where it's featuring and I forget his name, but the hero that ends up not being whatever, the white-haired guy in the white suit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, that's just kind of the vibe I got from it. But other than that, it's great. Like I really enjoy
I
it.
can see that. Yeah.
I just made myself bleed. Anyway, but yeah, other than that, enjoying it. I think it's a great series. Just it does for me does draw parallels to Miraculous Ladybug, which is a show that my youngest 2 daughters were really into for a while. Randy, what's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
Well, I spent a lot of time playing RuneScape because I'm back in it, unfortunately.
Deep into the RuneScape.
Not playing RuneScape is the nerdiest thing. It's watching one of my friends play it and walking him through like a 2-hour quest. even though he has a guide and like, but like just basically watching someone play a game is the nerdiest thing I've done. A very nerdy, slow paced game.
My nerdiest thing is also game related. I got really into Balatro over the last week.
Hey.
Yeah. Was not aware of this game, heard it mentioned by Randy and then followed up by Landon. And I was like, okay, it's on the PlayStation Network. I'll check it out. It's addictive.
You can get it on your phone too.
I don't need it on my phone. I really do not.
It is perfect because it's like a game you can start and stop because it's not like timed. It's just like in between even like hands you can throw in your pocket and be like, go do something else.
You are like the ADHD
Yes.
steal my little bit of attention I have dealer. Like you're like, oh, come on, kid, just try it once.
Enabler.
Yeah, he's the enabler.
Just play one more hand.
Kempachi's in the chat. He said, hey kids, my nerdy thing this week is getting back into Magic the Gathering. Spent about 9 hours playing last Saturday.
What format and what's your commander? Because it's probably commander if you played for 9 hours.
Kenpachi, my condolences to your wallet.
Yeah, no shit. And then quick in the chat said, hey,
stuff.
Danny, what is up? Justin, glad you are here. All right. Now that we've got the nerdiest thing we did this week out of the way, you guys want to talk about some news?
Always.
Yes.
Randy, why don't you fire up those bullet points? To the bullet points this week, we are talking about some of, not all, of the news coming out of anime, games, comics, TV, and movies. I will kick us off with comics news. So coming out of Comics Pro Retailer Summit, don't throw this image up till I get there, Randy. Don't get ahead of me, because it's so awesome. Coming out of the Comics Pro Retailer Summit and Entertainment Weekly has announced that we're getting a Deadpool and Batman crossover.
Oh no, give me one moment.
He doesn't have the image. Oh my god.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. We're getting a Deadpool Batman crossover written by Zeb Wells with art by Greg Capullo. That will be dropping September 17th. Following that in November, we are then getting a Batman Deadpool crossover written by Grant Morrison with art by Dan Mora, who has been the artist on Spider-Man for the last 60 issues. Go ahead, Randy. You can throw that up there now. But there you have it in all of its Batman-y and Deadpool-y glory. Yes. So we can look forward to not one, but two crossovers, one being handled by Marvel, the second being handled by DC. And not only are they giving this to us, but they are being handled by some of the biggest names in comics, with Grant Morrison being one of the biggest names of all time. But then also, Zeb Wells, Greg Capullo, one of the greatest Batman artists of all time as well. I do have the article up here so I can read what the artists are saying. So in the interview, Zeb Wells said, after writing Amazing Spider-Man for 60 issues, I told Marvel I needed a break. Marvel told me I could do that, or I could write a comic starring Deadpool and Batman with the best Batman artist of our generation. I no longer needed a break. In Batman, we found someone who has even less time for Deadpool's antics than Wolverine, but a citywide threat from the Joker makes strange bedfellows. It's been a blast letting Deadpool loose in Gotham City. And then Greg Capullo said, am I dreaming? This crossover is likely to be the high point of my career. And I've had a great career. Some of my earliest work was on X-Force, so Deadpool and I go way back. More recently, I spent 10 plus years drawing Batman at DC. The idea that I get to do a crossover with Deadpool and Batman, if I'm dreaming, please don't wake me up. Then on the DC side, we've got from Dan Mora, no, this is from Grant Morrison. I don't do many comics these days, but there was no way I could turn down the chance to work with Dan Mora again. One of my all-time favorite artistic collaborators, and definitely no way I could turn down Batman and Deadpool. Expect fourth wall busting mayhem, owls, blood blades, and at least one giant typewriter. And then finally, Dan Mora said, this is more than I ever imagined I could do in my career. It is a huge honor to be part of this crossover. It doesn't happen too often, and I am a huge Deadpool fan. When I first worked with Grant, I didn't know what to expect, but it was an incredible team up. I always hope to work with Grant again, and working on Batman Deadpool is like a dream come true. Grant and I are working together on this once-in-a-lifetime project. It's going to be a fun experience. So this year, starting in September, and with some of the best artists and writers in the industry, we are getting the Deadpool, Batman, Batman, Deadpool one-shot crossover comics, and I personally cannot fucking wait to have that on my shelf somewhere.
How many panels in before Deadpool starts hitting on Batman?
It's got to be quick. It's got to be almost right away. He's going to be like, "Oh, I never thought about putting my underwear on the outside. Is it comfy?" Or something like that. Like, it's going to be crazy.
You know what? It would be very funny if they did the exact opposite and it turns out Deadpool just instantly hates Batman. Just like that.
Yeah.
The one person in the multiverse that he's just like, I don't want to deal with this guy.
Yeah.
It's a popularity contest and you're my biggest rival. I can't handle that.
I'm looking at this cover that I put in the images. That's the Deadpool Batman cover. The Batman Deadpool cover is a little different, but
Is it the? You want me to show it?
Yeah, if you'll show it again, Deadpool has batarangs in his eyes and in his chest in this image.
Yeah, they're so tiny. They're like
they're very
little
small
mini
batarangs. They're like caltrops, but yeah, he's got them in his eye and then in his like left pec in the image. So clearly, Batman not a fan.
Wonder if he'll have a utility belt like Batman from the 60s.
You know what else be interesting?
Deadpool would have one.
In the last several years, it wasn't initially. You know, he was a Teen Titans villain first, but Deathstroke the Terminator has become a much bigger Batman villain in the last like decade, especially with the storyline where he might have been Damian's dad instead of Bruce, and they got this whole fight over who's the daddy, with the whole like storyline. But it is, you can take the image down now. It is canonically known that Deadpool is a spoof on Deathstroke the Terminator. That's why it's Slade Wilson and Wade Wilson. That's why he has a healing factor, because Slade Wilson has a healing factor. He's a mercenary. The mask matches everything. So having that be a character crossing over with Batman is very interesting. Just for that thing alone. Then you also have that we know that Batman is a comic character in the Marvel universe because Spider-Man calls the Griffin that he sits on top of the Empire State Building Bruce as a reference to Batman. It is, I don't know, there's just a lot to work with here, and I'm very excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, I mean, two of the biggest names in comics right now, especially, like, on one hand, yeah, it's going to be awesome. On the other hand, maybe they're running out of ideas. Could be, six. It could be a little column A, little column B.
That historically in comics publication history, that is when crossovers start happening. It's when they run out of good ideas.
Can we get like a resurrection of the Amalgam universe? Because that'd be fun.
Yeah, only Dark Claw maybe, and Ninja Spider-Man. Those are my only two characters from that Amalgam universe that I desperately want to see more of.
We can get some new ones though. I don't know what.
Let's see. Kenpachi said Commander, and I have 4 decks at the moment. What does that say?
Baral,
Chief of Compliance, Lord Windgrace, Jahira, Weatherlight Captain, and Rick Grimes from the Walking Dead set. Black Mac is in the chat. He said, "Hey team, what is up, man? Glad you are here." The father of the DFP network joining us in the chat, and he said, "All the prep in the world won't help Batman once Deadpool starts trolling." That's true. It's basically like a human-sized version of Batmite would be what Deadpool would be to Batman. Jen, do you want to tell us about some anime news?
Yes. My first anime news it's kind of different. I saw this and I was like, all right, let me go check this out. Maybe I want to talk about this. So Rira Ushio's Food for the Soul anime ending song video surpasses 1 million views. So I was like, let me check this out. It's called Miso Soup and Butter. And well, here, you want to, Randy, play the clip really quick of it. So if you go to YouTube, it's kind of like little Bebop. I was like, oh, okay. So if you go on YouTube and you watch the video for this, I was like, Miso Soup and Butter. That's interesting. Guys, it just the whole, don't watch the video. It just makes you hungry. Like, this girl is eating like this ridiculously like looking delicious food. Like it looked like a foodie just went to town in Tokyo and just started eating things. And also, basically, it kind of just looks like the average girl when she gets hangry and she needs to eat, like, no. And then she's all happy when she starts eating. And I was like, yes, absolutely. So cute song, but video makes you hungry.
Can confirm. Watch the video and am hungry.
Right?
I'm married to one of those girls that gets hangry, so
Yeah.
I've experienced that firsthand a time or two.
I'm one myself.
I am one of those girls that gets hungry.
Right?
You treat Eric better
Hangry.
than that. Oh, that's better. Get that thing out of my face. I did a couple of mic stand upgrades for the desks over the week, so I've gotten our mics off the desk, so we have more room to play down here.
Yes.
But there will
Nice.
be
So,
some
so much
adjusting.
extra room for
But-
activities.
Yeah. What else did you have, Jen?
So I actually want to talk to you guys about the Crunchyroll 2025 winners that they announced. I had some beef with some of them.
Mm-hmm. Do
Mhm.
tell.
Wondering if our beef is the same or if we're going to be at odds.
We'll see. It's gonna be fun either way.
If either one of you says one negative thing about Freerun, I will murder you.
Oh, no. That's
Okay.
that's one of my biggest beefs.
That's my beef. That is my beef.
Okay.
So let's see. So for best continuing series and best animation, you have Demon Slayer, which I was happy about. I can get behind that, you know.
I mean, it's all right.
Then you, huh?
It's all right.
Yeah. So Solo Leveling won Anime of the Year, won Best New Series, Best
season
Action,
one.
Best Main Character, and Best Score.
For season 1 is my biggest gripe with this, because people, like, it's running concurrently, like the voting was running concurrently with like the second season airing, but it's for the previous year, so it's for season 1, and season 1 is not on par with season 2 or Free Run season 1 or Don season 1 or Delicious in Dungeon season 1. Like, honestly, I think like all of these were in like better contenders for than Solo Leveling, in my opinion. But
Freerun not winning Anime of the Year is the biggest ripoff in the history of anime. Like,
Oh,
easily.
absolutely.
I like
100%.
Solo Leveling. I think Solo Leveling is great as an action anime that you can watch mindlessly and have
Yeah.
a good time. But there's nothing crazy going on in it. Like, you know, he's gained the ability to level up, and you know that he's getting stronger. But like, I'm not like, oh wow, this has made me think about the world and the way I interact with it. Freerun did. Freerun definitely did.
Like Freerun, the only thing I could probably give people is like the first few episodes are kind of slow, but it's story building. It's a great story. It's got action. All the characters are amazing, have amazing personalities, and I love the interaction between everybody. I was super disappointed to see that it didn't win Anime of the Year. Like, that was just like fucking crime.
I don't know how
Sorry.
it didn't. I don't know how it didn't.
I don't either.
because the people who vote on it, isn't it like a community vote?
I guess.
Like didn't the community vote on this?
But
And
it's frustrating because if Freerun's got everything. It's got great combat, it's got great story, it's got great characters, it's got great character development.
Yeah.
It makes you think. It's
Mhm.
got history at the same time as it, you know, it literally doesn't have history. It's new, but it makes you feel like it's old.
Mhm.
Like, Freerun is awesome. It changes the game. And Solo Leveling, for all that it is, and that it's an isekai with, you know, that isn't an isekai. It's, you know, it's fun, but I wouldn't say it's incredible. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
The story is not really in depth. Like, it's So Freerun won Best Director, Best Background Art, Best Drama, and then the Best Supporting Character is Fern. I love all that. I
did
do
get
love
its-
the fact.
it
Huh?
did get its flowers. Like it definitely got its like
Yeah, but-
recognition, but I still vote number one of the year.
I mean, it got lilies. It should have got roses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the only place that I'm really that upset is the Anime of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Solo Leveling is great, but it's not that great. Like,
It's no.
At the end of the day, like 10 years from now, there'll be another anime that will be as exciting as Solo Leveling, and we'll talk about it on the same level. There will probably never be another anime like Freerun. that touches in the way that Free Run does.
And I will say it is on season 1
Mhm.
and Solo Leveling is on season 2. And I feel like animes like this are, which I don't think it will, but like I've watched so many that like shit the bed in season 2.
Yeah,
There's such a strong start and then they fall off.
I hope
But
Free Run doesn't shit
I
the
can't
bed in season
imagine
2.
it does, but I don't know because I haven't read the manga.
But then
I
also
plan
the season 1 was 25 episodes. Season 1 of
to. Mhm.
Solo Leveling was 12 episodes.
Also,
Season,
it's like 2 episodes
Mhm.
per like episode, honestly, because like they're like 15-minute
yeah.
or like 10-minute stories.
Kenpachi said, yo, yeah, like how the fuck did Free Run lose to Solo Leveling? Bullshit. Solo Leveling is great, but I like Free Run. Totally agree with that. Do we have any other news coming out of the anime awards?
The only other thing I was happy about is that that Dan to Dan won the best opening sequence. So I was happy about that. I mean, I routinely listen to that song. I'm like,
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
catchy.
That would be
Catchy as
another
fuck.
one where I would be so upset. Another one that I'm very upset about is best main character going to Sun Jingwoo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Over Free. Like honestly, like Okarun. I mean, it's also in its early days, but I like Kafka. I don't think Kaiju number 8 was like the best show, but I like Kafka. I like Free Rin. She was in the running as a character, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, like I think that one's almost more upsetting to me than
Yeah.
than the
Yeah, I'm
than-
kind of
than it
thinking about
winning.
that. There were a lot of new anime that dropped in the last year that were really good and
Yeah.
had really good characters, especially
Mhm.
really good main characters.
Mao Mao from
Mao
Apothecary
Mao,
Diaries
Jesus
is
Christ,
in the
yeah.
running for that.
Did
Mao Mao's
Apothecary
awesome.
Diaries win anything good?
Best voice performance, Japanese.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
stupid. That was insulting.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But it, like was Zenshu in the running at all? Because Zenshu is fucking incredible. Now I realize that was this
Zenshu.
year, so it might not have been in the running for this anime awards. But Zenshu was awesome, and the main character was great. She had a lot of growth as a character from beginning to end. It was really well done. Black Max says Solo Leveling and Free Run are two different flavors, though. Absolutely, but compared to each other side by side for best anime of the year, I don't think Free Run is even, or I don't think Solo Leveling is even close. I will say soundtrack great. Yeah, absolutely. Solo Leveling has some incredible music. They definitely hype up the fights with the music that they have in it. So I think that the soundtrack does its purpose in that, and I'm not upset about it winning that. But there's just so many great characters that have joined the anime world in the last year for them to just go with Sung Jin Woo. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like some of it's just my taste and stuff. Because like honestly, I don't really care about Demon Slayer that much either.
Yeah.
But people really love it. So like I think it's, and then Solo Leveling, like I watch it, it's entertaining, but I'm not like blown away by it.
I will say that Alex Lee, the voice actor for Sung Jin Woo, the American voice actor Sung Jin Woo, loves the character and loves that he's getting to play him. So I'm excited for him that he won these things. So that's, it's hard to not want to celebrate with him. And Caitlin Glass, who is the voice of Nami in One Piece, is the director of Solo Leveling, and so them winning these accolades is really cool because from all of the voice actors I've talked to, Caitlin Glass is one of the nicest people on the planet and great to work with. So I do want them to get good things and for these things to have been good for them. So now they're award-winning voice actors and directors. So that's great. I'm happy for them, but up against the Free Run crew, I just don't see it.
I also think a huge snuff, because I'm scrolling through here and I don't see that they won anything, was Delicious in Dungeon or Dungeon Meshi. I don't think it has several nominations, which it's
Dungeon Meshi is a couple of years old though. Like they don't have anything.
They're nominated for stuff.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah. But it's just they didn't get anything. But I mean, I guess to be nominated is such an honor anyways. But also it's one of those things where it's like, okay, they won their awards, they got recognition, good. But it's also you don't have to win an award to like a show. So it's, I'm gonna die on the hill. I'm gonna complain about Solo Leveling Solo Leveling being the winner. but it doesn't change anything. I still love Freerin more than that. So, and honestly, like I think everything on this list that I've seen, well, except for Kaiju number 8, and I didn't really care that much about Apothecary Diaries. It was cute, but I don't know if I'll.
I
continue
love
watching it.
Apothecary Diaries.
It was good.
So
I really
good.
liked it, but I'm just like, because I think what we have a lot of, including Freerin, which loose definition, a lot of Mary Sues this year. Who are like, well, because like Freerin is also kind of like, you're never worried that she's gonna lose because she knows everything. Like it's, you know, it's more of how they overcome, or like the people around her overcome, than anything. And like, I mean, Sun Jin-woo rhymes with Mary Sue loosely, so like you can't tell me that's not on purpose.
So moving along
Yeah.
from the anime awards,
Sorry, I have to rant about it.
this has been Randy's rants.
Yeah, I kind of stole the news. I'm sorry.
Jen, did you have anything else to add to the
No, that's it.
your report on the anime awards?
Yep, that's it.
Over in TV, HBO Max has officially cast its leads for the new Harry Potter series. We have an image here from HBO Max. They have cast Arabella Stanton as Hermione, Dominic McLaughlin as Harry, and Alistair Stout as Ron. They are joining the official casting of Nick Frost as Hagrid and John Lithgow as Dumbledore, as well as the other announced cast. What do you
They're
guys
so
think?
cute.
They are very little and very cute.
They're so little. I'm excited. I like the casting. They look really close to the characters. I like it a lot. I'm excited to see what these kids got. What you got?
They look like 3 young kids, vaguely like the characters, and in the same age. So yeah, good casting.
And John Lithgow as Dumbledore. Oh, I can't wait to see that.
I love John Lithgow as an actor, and I have a
do
hard time not
too.
wanting to watch him in literally everything he's ever done.
I
so.
know. Even when he played the Trinity killer on Dexter, I was like, he's evil, but I still love it. I'm still gonna watch it.
I mean, even back to like Third Rock from the Sun, I thought he was so great with his comedy chops for someone who's traditionally been a pretty serious actor. But like
Yeah,
Harry and the Hendersons, he's the dad in that. It's so good.
I love that movie.
He's been in so many good things.
Lord Farquaad, is that him?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
the voice of Lord Farquaad for sure. Black Max said that shocked me because I didn't even know they were making a Harry Potter show. Yeah, absolutely. And Kampachi wants to know, anyone watching Sword of the Demon Hunter? I'm not yet, but I'll add it to my list.
Should I?
And then over in gaming, Landon, what do we have?
All right. So first bit of news I have, this is, I don't know, a bit more of a what seems like an analysis by another journalist, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. It seems that gaming companies are a bit more scared to use generative AI now. It seems that they're a bit worried about the bad publicity they could get from using AI, which they should be.
Yeah, no shit.
As well as possible future legal ramifications. Like, as we all know, AI is trained off of other people's art. It can't make something out of nothing completely. So it has to essentially break down other pieces of art to make new pieces of art. And companies are a bit worried that if they were to work on a project now, 4 years down the line, there'll be new legal issues that could pop up, new laws regarding AI, and they don't want to take that chance right now. So as a bit of positive news, looks like we might not be getting that much AI in AAA games.
That is a very positive twist on that, and I'm glad that is the direction we went. That we were so like collectively as a society, we're so like vocal about how unhappy we were about the trend of companies trying to use AI for literally everything.
Well, the general public's opinion tends to be a pretty even split, normally around the 50-50 split. But people who are more online and more paying attention to these sorts of things, like gamers paying attention to companies using AI in their AAA games, tend to be a lot more negative on the topic. So the people that matter are paying attention. But moving on from AI, we're going to the bad side of companies, namely EA, which is just the bad side completely. EA,
The originators of the microtransaction.
yes, kind of. EA apparently, according to a former Dragon Age writer, believed that they didn't really need to appeal to the RPG audience, thinking that there was just like this cave of nerds that would just buy anything with the RPG label on it. And that they didn't really do anything to appeal to this audience. They could just start with a base RPG and then add mechanics and polish and everything that appealed to every other market, which is what they actually wanted, according to former EA writer, where I had David Gator, according to former writer David Gator.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, they're not wrong, really. They're not, but at the same time, like, we have to be marketed to. Like, we have a lot of options out there. You can't just be like, they'll buy it.
I don't know, because RPG is such a broad genre, honestly. Like, is this strategic RPG, turn-based RPG, turn-based, and is there turn-based army control or turn-based tactics like Final Fantasy? Is this shooter RPG? Like, it feels like RPG is a much broader genre than what EA really thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's not the people who are making these games making these decisions. It's the marketing people and the money people.
Yeah, the production side of things.
Mm-hmm. Not even the production, just the business side.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And thankfully, just like the AI thing, they learned a very valuable lesson. Don't just
That's what led to the failure of what was it? The Mass Effect 4 and Anthem. So,
yep.
Maybe there's a lesson there, maybe not. Well,
I guarantee you they are not learning the lesson they should be learning, but at least there was a lesson.
Yeah, always take the wrong lesson.
Yeah, I'm sure out of that they were like, okay, we need to fire everyone that made this game. The marketing team did great. I'm sure that's where that.
I think another thing, like EA does it and like movie studios do it, where it's like they don't stand by their stuff.
Yeah,
they like they're like, like that. Well, because like Marvel's kind of done it where they've canceled movies and stuff because they put out one thing and then people are like, I don't like that thing. So the next thing they're like, well, we got to change it, even though we have like this all planned out. So like, I don't know if gay video games do the same thing, but it's like, well, this game didn't do well, so let's cancel all the games like it because it didn't do well. And it's like, well, maybe you just did bad on that one. Like, take the risk of like, you're already halfway through making this game.
Well, you see, Randy, doing an analysis of where a product failed costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And why would they do that when they can just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It's just
yeah.
EA, like, I don't know what EA stands for, but
I will actually say it speaks more to. There's definitely examples of Marvel canceling things after, like, we didn't get a season 2 of She-Hulk because of fan reaction, even though there was plans for that to be a multi-season thing. But there's there's other things, and I would say so. Honestly, it's more the Sony and Foxverse version of Marvel that started things and then would just cancel them completely because they didn't get a good reception, as opposed to going back to the source and like trying to make a better version. They were just like, okay, we'll move along. Like, Ghost Rider got 2 films, but neither of them were good. We only got 1 Daredevil movie because it was critically panned whenever it dropped. But DC has been bad about that as well, with fully filming Batgirl and then just destroying every version of it and taking a tax write-off on it, as well as some of the other things that they had made. And then obviously canceling the broader DC EU in favor of rebooting the entire universe because they just couldn't figure out how to make superheroes good. I don't understand that. But yeah, when they could literally just look at their animated side of things and be like, oh, that's how it works. But anyway, all of that being said, I think, that it's probably gaming studios just the money people of it, calling it quits whenever, and getting the wrong lessons from the bad, and continuing to do the things that make them the most money.
Well, it's just like the Dark Universe too. I mean, just because the Mummy tanked, like they gave up on the whole Dark Universe. I'll forever be upset about that. Like, I want them to pick that back up and make the MonsterVerse. I want them to do that.
Yeah.
Just because Tom Cruise, still pissed at you,
Tom Cruise shot
Tom.
that in the dick.
Yeah.
Black Mac said, avoid Skynet at all costs, talking about the AI stuff. I mean, we should, but no, we won't. We will continue working our way towards a cold grave where we were replaced by technology. Landon, what else did you have in gaming?
That's everything I had.
All right. And then finally in movies, we reported on this whenever there was a Deadline article accidentally published about it, but it is now confirmed. A24 has officially confirmed that Alex Garland will be directing the Elden Ring movie. In the annals of video game movies, there are very few examples of good video game movies. I think maybe the first Resident Evil was good. Not great, but good enough. But as far as live action video game movies, it's really hit or miss. I can't think of very many other good ones. What do you guys think about the idea of a live action Elden Ring movie? And are your hopes high for this, or would you rather they just stick to making games and continuing to grow that universe?
I would say stick to making games, because something like Elden Ring it's so massive. Not going off of just like multiple endings, there's so much different stories and lore they can pull from just from that one game. Like, trying to pick and choose what you want to draw from that, you either spread yourself out too thin and don't explore anything enough to satisfy an audience, or you zero in on one type of story and lore and you push away people that are interested in the other stuff. And then you have people raging online of like, oh, they didn't include this, this, and this, which, may make some of the movie fans want to play the actual game to see all this stuff. But either way, I just think going with games over movies would be the best bet for something like this.
Jen?
I'm actually really, really enjoying all of these different studios and companies that are like going head first into like these epic fantasy stories, and everybody wants to have the next big, Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, and I'm gonna watch them all. I love that. I would much rather them make that, and sometimes it kind of semi suck, but it's still better than some of the crap that studios pay people to make. I'm here to watch that stuff. I love it.
And then what do you think about A24 being kind of the indie film darling of making small studio films with maybe a little bit larger budget than your average indie film has, taking on what is more than likely to be a large scale action film that I doubt is going to eschew like CGI and big budget ideas whenever that the monsters and characters in Elden Ring are these larger than life creations. Right. What do you think that says for A24 that they're getting in bed with kind of one of these larger cross promotional movies?
There's been so many movies made where I was like, that sounds like some dumb shit, and then they make it and it looks impressive. For instance, Cowboys versus Aliens. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I watched it and I was like, actually, that was kind of fucking cool. But I mean,
based on the comic
answer your
book,
question,
Cowboys versus Aliens.
Yeah. And if they are going to go out on a limb and try to like go above the indie stuff that they've been trying to, or that they've been doing, and they're going to do something even like more amazing, all right, I'm going to give them a chance. I'll give them a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Netflix. I mean, Netflix, it's this huge streaming monster. And, I still remember the very first DVD that I had them mailed me. So, a long
Yeah.
way.
Kenpachi says, I loved the World of Warcraft movie. The Warcraft movie. Still one of my fave movies of all fame fantasy movies. I don't think that opinion is broadly shared, Kenpachi, but I do appreciate your honesty.
I was thinking about that because you said you can't think of one. I was like, I think it was just kind of under the radar, where it was just nobody was like, this is terrible, but nobody was like, greatest movie ever. I guess except Kenpachi. But
I could start a list of terrible video game movies, but
I
I'd
think
be
people
here a
were
long
like,
time.
it's a good effort. I think is kind of like what I've heard. Like the sentiment was, where nobody was like angry about it, but nobody was like, this is a wonderful.
Well, you know what the problem is Henry Cavill has talked about this a lot. Is whenever you play like a video game or you read a book or read comics and they're trying to make an adaptation of it, there are the purists that are going to get pissed off because it doesn't follow what the source material does. And then I feel like they're kind of in this weird spot, like, well, what was it? Was it Dragon's Blood? Where it was like so geared towards like the fans of the show that you actually have to be a fan of the game in order to like understand all these different characters and everything. Where I feel like a lot of the studios try to do like some stuff that they make up and then like some stuff from the source material, and then you end up pissing everybody off.
There definitely is a line to walk there with the adaptation direction.
Yeah.
And who doesn't love an origin story over and over and over and over again? I don't think that that's the way to go, but there are definitely ways to eschew the origin story and still feature the origin materials as like flashbacks or something without having to tell the entire narrative. I think the thing that where fans get like, this sucked and I don't want anything to do with it is whenever you completely change the narrative around the origin story of these characters, and then they're not really the character you know and love by the time they are who they're supposed to be on the big screen. One of the most fitting examples I can think of this is Sylvester Stallone being Judge Dredd. He was very much just Sylvester Stallone in a Judge Dredd suit. Took the mask off almost immediately, which Judge Dredd never takes his mask off, and his like 70-year history as a comic book character has never once removed his mask on screen. Yeah, the Carl Urban version is definitely better.
Yeah,
but Landon, we didn't really get your thoughts on A24 kind of leaning into this like bigger budget film thing. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit worried, because they are known for these smaller budget films. Like if they end up making this in the same vibe of like their smaller budget films and they don't go super crazy with like special effects and keep it very grounded, and just focus on like narrative and anything, that could be interesting. Granted, Elden Ring is known for its big landscapes and huge fights and everything, but it would be interesting if they were to take a more grounded look at this huge story.
Like, how are you going to do Godfrey or Godric or like? I think Milena is maybe the only character that may work on screen without CGI. Like everyone else is these giant hulking people, So I just don't. I don't know how they're going to do that without leaning into that like big budget CGI side of things. And I don't think there's any way to make Elden Ring as a fun, kitschy indie film. Like I just don't think there is.
Well, like I'm looking at Alex Garland's like other movies and stuff, which like just movies in general. I don't feel like Elden Ring has a point of view character that you can easily slot into, like the audience surrogate. Because like Minecraft isn't like that movie doesn't lend itself to a story, which I'm not saying it was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
They
Minecraft
had some
awesome.
But like they had a person that we followed, like the kid was kind of our point of view character. We followed him. You went into like the fantasy world. I don't know what you do in this one because like because like even your character is like not a character.
They don't have any lines.
Yeah, they don't have like
they don't have a name.
Right?
They're one of a billion other people playing the exact same
you
game.
need someone like if you go into a world that weird, you need like someone for the audience, like people who aren't Elden Ring super fans, but like my dad who wants to go see this movie, you need to have something to onboard them into the movie in order to make it like widely appealing, which I guess I don't know if A24 cares about wide appeal, because
Well,
like
if
a lot of their movies are like kind of dense, weird stuff. So
if they just lean into the Elden Ring lore, it could be the story of Ronnie the Witch and the Knight of Blades, and it could be from Ronnie's perspective.
But, like-
Ben Stewart, our human relations specialist and fact checker extraordinaire, is in the chat. Ben, glad you're here.
hey,
I
it's
mean-
the people that look at me and make words on Wednesdays. We try to make words on Wednesdays.
But anyway, yeah,
I struggle to make words.
I don't know what it says for A24 as a studio, whether they're planning to go bigger, or what it says about their Elden Ring attempt, whether it's going to be a much smaller scale and the grandiose, large, deformed villains are just going to be normal human sized, or whether they're going to use forced perspective, probably use practical effects. If they do that, I just don't know that it's going to hold up visually to the cinematic experience that is playing through Elden Ring.
Get the Jim
So
Henson
I don't
company
know.
on it.
I'm apprehensive at best.
Like A24 is good at weird, but I don't know how to do this one.
Right, within their normal
But like, I mean, like
framework, I'd say.
Alex Garland's good at weird too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't say I love all of his movies, but I don't think any of them were like terrible, like the ones that I'm looking at. But
So
I don't know.
Kimpachi said, have you seen the Attack on Titan live action? That is what we are getting. So I was just kind of sitting here like browsing at the
It's not good.
I'm like, all right. It's kind of giving me a more advanced sci-fi Hercules and Xena vibes.
Ben said Danny plays 2,000 hours of Elden Ring and thinks he's an expert. I have put a lot of time into Elden Ring, and I've listened to and watched a lot of lore videos. I went into like a deep dive of it, so I have a pretty strong understanding of the Elden Ring history. Which again, there's a big world, there's a big sandbox to play in there. I just don't know that. I don't know. We'll see what they do. We'll see what A24 and Alex Garland can give us. It may be the greatest video game movie ever made, after Super Mario Brothers.
Wait, which
the
one?
original with John Leguizamo.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that does it for the bullet points. I hope this news didn't just graze you. Tagline backwards, and it's my own thing. Ugh, how I screwed that up. We're going to talk a little bit. I've recently dove into. I was a little behind on the Absolute comic storylines, and so I've recently dove into Absolute Batman to check that out. And I was initially just looking at it, worried that it was going to be a modernized take on The Dark Knight Returns, but I have since laid that concern to rest. Absolute Batman is incredible. I would like to report that it is very much Batman, no matter what. That even though this is a Bruce Wayne that is not a multi-billionaire, he is still Batman regardless. And so the idea that Bruce Wayne in any universe with any set of circumstances is still going to become Batman at the end of the day is very cool. And I love this character, and I love the way that they're doing the story. One of the really cool things about it is that the majority of Batman's rogues gallery, the Riddler, Two-Face, Killer Croc, who else? Penguin, and I feel like there's one more that I'm not thinking of. Catwoman are all his childhood friends. They are all on his side, and they are all part of helping Batman be Batman. So they're not villains in the story, at least not to this point, which I thought was really cool. Waylon Jones, the Killer Croc, was a former professional boxer who taught Batman how to fight. The Riddler taught him how to be a detective. It's just like it's pretty cool that they all get to be a part of his origin. The Joker has shown up, but we haven't gotten anything beyond seeing his face. And he said like he had like one line in the issue like 8, I think, or issue 7. And other than that, the villain to this point has been Black Mask, Roland Sionis. And that story's been really cool as well. He feels much more like an indie comic villain than he does as an actual Batman villain, and it's really interesting. And then they just introduced Mr. Freeze, and he's like this like God, I can't even think of the term.
Like a Wendigo is kind of what he looks like in the
kind
cover.
of, but he's like grotesque,
tall, gangly.
Like a slender man.
But he like transforms from a normal person into this giant ice beast, and he literally beats the shit out of Batman. But one of the other cool things about it is that like Alfred is an MI6 agent that his daughter lives in Gotham, so he like pops in and out of Gotham for like different things, and that's how he ends up working with Batman. But he's not the Wayne family butler. Bruce's mom is still alive, and she's Jim Gordon's deputy mayor. So she's still around, and she has a unique relationship with Gordon, which I think is neat. And Batman is an engineer who works as a construction worker in the city of Gotham to help with all of the like rebuilding from crime and destruction that happens in Gotham. And that's how he funds his fight against crime. And he's just fucking massive. Like this dude is just built like a brick shithouse. He is so huge. And the Bat costume is something he engineered himself. And as opposed to having like really cool like Bat gadgets, he engineered something akin to what he had in like Batman Begins, where he can run electrodes through his cape and it like stiffens and he can use it as a weapon, and he uses it to like walk on. He uses it as his grappling hook. He uses it to fly. So his cape is like the thing that makes him the effective fighter that Batman is. It's his like go-to gadget.
So I got a couple images.
You got a couple images. Go ahead and throw them up whenever you're ready.
That's like him swole.
Yeah. Notably, the bat symbol on his chest is the head to a battle axe, and his cape turns into the handle for it. The bat cycle is a revved up motorcycle, and then I think we've all seen the images of the Batmobile. It is a construction site dump truck painted black with this like bat bridge thing that Bruce built as a child that is this like incredible engineering feat he was able to accomplish as a 10-year-old, which got him creating it is what won him a trip to the zoo with him and 5 of his friends, which is where his father was gunned down by Joe Chill and starts the whole Batman story. So there's no Ra's al Ghul to this point. There's no like greater lore. He wasn't trained as a ninja. He's just a big dude that knows how to fight.
Does this dude have a mustache?
Huh?
Does he have a mustache?
Batman?
Yeah, like I'm not even joking. It just looks like in this image
he does not. He does not have a mustache in the Absolute Comics. I will say that Matches Malone, who is Batman's like go-to undercover identity in Absolute Comic, is actually one of his friends from his friends group, and he's the kid that his dad was trying to save whenever he was gunned down. And they just like in the last issue or 2 issues ago showed Matches Malone dying due to something that Mr. Freeze did to him, which is what leads to the whole Mr. Freeze storyline.
Oh, here's a Mr. Freeze as well.
Oh, okay. You can see Mr. Freeze here. Yeah, he's a lanky, scary looking.
Looks like Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, kind of. But I will say it's fun. Absolute Batman is absolutely fun. I've not dove into Absolute Superman or Absolute Wonder Woman yet. I know we're getting Absolute Martian Manhunter next. But this Absolute Batman story is a fun Elseworlds idea for Batman. I don't know that the entire Absolute universe will stay this fun, but this one by itself is a blast, and I love it, and I hope it stays good. But like all of these rebooted universes, like the original Ultimate Universe, like the DC universe post Crisis, they tend to fizz out and go away
on themselves.
Yeah, but anyway, I remain optimistic that we'll be good.
I like his long, pointy bat ears. They're extra long.
Well, not only are they extra long, they also, when he was fighting Black Mask, he like did some sort of thing. I don't know if it was like a hand signal or what, but they tipped forward and pointed straight down, and he slammed him into Black Mask's eyes through his mask.
He
Like-
stooged
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, it was because like
That's
Black Mask will have like
savage.
a garrote around his neck and is like trying to choke Batman out, and then he just like, I don't know how he triggers it because it doesn't show it, but they just flip forward and then he's just like wham.
Does he do this move where he gets like spiky?
Yes, so that is part of that thing he made with his cape. His back grows spikes from the
Like
fabric.
venom.
and
If it was
Hedgehog.
a hedgehog
Yeah.
crossover.
So one of Black Mask's like brutes runs up and like grabs Bruce around the back, like trying to like bear hug him from the back, and he just shoots those spikes through the guy.
But this is the image where I'm like, is that a mustache like under his nose?
No. It's
I
a
was
no
like,
no
his
mustache.
little Viltrumite mustache.
He very much
hiding
looks
there.
like the comic book Batman, just yoked. He's just huge, which is cool. It's just really cool. He's very big, very intimidating
I
dude.
say I do really want to read this now.
And it makes the idea that Batman is terrifying so much more realistic whenever he looks like he could physically rip your arm from your body
Yeah.
and beat you to death with it.
I mean, they kind of tried to make him look like the what's his name? Oh my god.
You're doing great. I believe you.
Yeah, the actor that played him just recently. Not with
Christian
Henry
Bale?
Cavill. No, I can't think of
Ben
his-
Affleck?
Yeah, Ben Affleck. I was like, I can't think of his name. But like they made the bat chunky,
Oh, yeah.
and then they also made him big and wide because like the suits were huge and Ben Affleck got like super swole.
Yeah. But anyway, Absolute Batman is a joyride from beginning to issue 8, I believe is what they're on now. If you have time, check it out. It is so good. Highly recommend. I love Batman anyway, but it is a very good story. And it's a lot of fun to see him and Alfred in this new relationship where Batman's like, piss off, man, I can do my own thing. And Alfred's like, I'm a fucking professional. Let me help you.
You're not my dad.
Yeah. And it's pretty fun. There's actually, when he's fighting Black Mask at one point in the comic, Black Mask breaks Batman's arm. And he is back in like one of his many bat caves throughout the city. And Alfred walks in and he's like, stop talking and set my arm so I can go back to work. And he's like, nah, kid, I'm out. Take care of yourself. And then just turns around and leaves. So he leaves him with a broken arm, doesn't sew up any of his wounds. So it's, they have a very interesting relationship in this one. So I highly recommend. Check it out if you get the time. But Absolute Batman is a thrill ride. But you know who else is a thrill ride? Image Comics characters, which is what we were talking about this week on the hit list. Welcome to the hit list. This week we are talking about our 5 favorite Image Comics characters. Image Comics founded in the 90s by 7 Marvel Comics writers and artists who wanted to have more control over their original characters, founded Image Comics. And they definitely changed the game and gave Marvel and DC more to think about and kind of put them on notice, like, hey, you guys got to step it up. This happened during the like extreme era of the 90s where everything needed like spikes and chains and claws, and Image was the like leading edge of that that Marvel and DC tried to kind of catch up with them on. But anyway, do you want to kick us off with your number 5, Jen?
Sure.
Landon. Jen.
Landon.
No, Jen.
Me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Landon.
Me.
Landon.
All
Your
right,
number
roll
5,
initiative.
please.
I would say we didn't roll this week.
All right, rolling for initiative.
All right.
I got a 10.
I got a 6. You win.
Okay,
All right,
I go
Landon
first. All right, my number 5. It's Spawn. Like, let's get it out of the way. Spawn is the thing that put Image Comics on the map. It is very heavily Spider-Man inspired, shall we say, and truly one of the greatest comic characters of all time. Heartbreaking and utterly ruthless at the exact same time. Truly,
Yep.
like, Spawn's amazing.
Yeah, so Spawn makes makes another appearance on this list, so we're not going to dive too much into him just yet. But yeah, all of those things you said were absolutely true, Landon. Jen, what did you have for your number 5?
So my number 5 is Laura Wilson. So she's a character from the comics called The Wicked and Divine. So in the comic, every 90 years, 12 people gain power of the gods, and in 2 years, they died. So Laura's alter ego is Persephone, and I liked reading about her story. She's becomes a god herself and kind of spirals down with a lot of people in her life dying, and she learns a lot of hard lessons, but in the end she does a good job. I don't think anybody expected her to, and she ended up doing that, and I kind of like that story where she kind of comes into herself and said, I'm good now, I got this. So I like that.
Yeah, that is not a comic I am familiar with, so I will have to take your word on that, but it does sound cool.
Yeah.
Randy, what did you have for your number 5?
So my number 5 is Lady Mechanica from the titular Lady Mechanica.
Okay.
So this is I don't even know honestly if this first image is her, but I think it's her. But it's a comic that I've seen the cover of like 1,000 times and haven't picked up to read yet. But it seems very, very cool. It's like a steampunk vampire hunting ish kind of thing. She like all the covers give very much like Underworld vibes, but steampunk. And it just seems pretty cool. And I know she is like I don't know if she like lost them in a war, but she has like or just had them removed by mad scientists, but she has like mechanical limbs. And she hunts monsters as far as I'm aware. It's like a Victorian steampunk, a world filled with flying dirigibles and clockwork automatons. A young woman searches desperately for the secrets of her past, a past that left her with extraordinary but unnatural mechanical limbs. So I don't even know if they're like actually like mechanical or like biomechanical kind of thing, because in this image, they're very like all kind of fleshy in her legs, but still look metal. So it kind of reminded me of Violet
Like
Evergarden's.
Oh, I was gonna say Battle Angel. Gives me Battle Angel.
Oh yeah,
I could see an
I'd say
Alita.
definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just one I haven't read it yet, but it's one that like I always see the cover of. I'm like, I need to pick that up.
Yeah.
So
what do we have in chat?
Someone saying
Standalone 01 said I rock with Lady Mechanica.
Hi, Rob.
I don't think we have any number 5s yet.
Okay. Mac said I sneak into the party late as fuck. Hey guys, I've been here the whole time. We're glad you're here. What is
Nobody's gonna be upset with you showing up late if you bring your hit list.
Yeah, if you show up with your list. So I am gonna do my number 5, but before I do that, I want to go on a brief tangent about Marvel or Image Comics. So Image Comics kind of their mission statement whenever they founded Image Comics, they left Marvel Comics and they decided to found their own creator-owned comics company where they would own all creators would always own 100% rights for their characters out of their own studios, and they would only be publishing under the heading of Image Comics. Now, the idea behind that they will always own their creator-owned stuff is great. That's a great thing. It's always been a problem in comics that creators don't get to own their own work, because it was by and large, comics creation has always been like work for hire. You create the character, the comic company owns the character, and you get paid, which was how it started, and it stayed that way for a very long time, with the exception of like Bob Kane with Batman, and then obviously we know that he forced Bill Finger out of even being recognized for creating Batman, so that was a whole other thing. But very, very rarely was that the case with the comics. The only issue I have with this is that when Image founded itself, the creator-owned characters that they all used were just the comic characters they were already working on with Marvel in new forms. They were just close enough to keep from getting sued. And this is true for almost every one of them. So when you look at Spider-Man, the early Spawn comics and the early Spider-Man appearances, I have a couple of images here. So Todd McFarlane, well known for Spawn. Spawn's a great character. People love him across the board. Go ahead, Randy. But this is like next to each other a Spawn cover and a Spider-Man cover, both drawn by Todd McFarlane. A little bit further up, this is an image off of the first issue of Spawn. Go ahead, Randy. That is right next to an image of Spider-Man that Todd McFarlane drew previously. So you can see Spawn is very much just Spider-Man with a cape. His chains are his webs. He's got a spiky thing around his leg, and he's, wears a lot more black than red, whatever. But very much even the shape of Spawn's eyes and stuff is a direct copy of Spider-Man. So this is something that I'm going to talk about while I do my list as well. So my number 5 is a character created by Dale Keown, one of the greatest Incredible Hulk artists of all time, and that is Pitt. So you may recognize Pitt from the established uniform of every Carney through the mid-90s into the early 2000s and 10s, but I know him from the comics. So here's Pitt, brought to us by one of the former creators or one of the former artists on the Incredible Hulk. Can you guys guess where Pitt's inspiration came from?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, he's definitely just the Hulk wearing some chains with some longer hair.
And
now,
his Tootsie's out.
Pitt's canonical story is that he is a human-alien hybrid from a race of people that are like 7 to 8 feet tall themselves. So he's got like a half brother that's also kind of wild like him, but he's a creation built for war. He also has long claws on his hands, so he's a hybrid Wolverine, Incredible Hulk character with no nose, and he was like the poster child for the extreme 90s superheroes. Was Pitt. But anyway, he's my number 5. I do love him, and I love myself an anti-hero, and Pitt is a great character. Do we have a number 5 in chat?
Yes. Xandalorn, I think is how you would say that.
Is that
my number 5 is Warblade.
Is that someone you're familiar with, Jen?
Yeah, it's Rob.
Oh, okay. So that's friend of the show, Rob Gibbons. Yes, Warblade as your number 5 is a great choice. I've also got some other Wolverine adjacent image heroes on my list as well. Not limiting to Pitt, but also another one. But yeah, Warblade from the what was it? Wildcat comic line. Yes. Then we've got a number 5 from Ben Stewart.
Omni-Man.
Yeah, the father of Invincible, the Invincible Universe's version of Superman. And Rob says, I always thought Warblade was a Lady Deathstrike knockoff. In that he has kind of similar blade fingers to Lady Deathstrike, but in origin and ability, he's very much more of a Wolverine analog, and was one of many that Image created. But anyway, so that was my number 5. Landon, what do you have for number 4?
All right, my number 4, it's Spawn. Just getting him right out of the way. He's one of the greatest to come out of Image Comics. Really held the entire franchise on his back for a long time, even. Truly one of the greatest. Equally heartbreaking and ultra violent. Yeah, Spawn, gotta say.
Now, I've heard this, but I don't know if it's true. Is he originally a ripoff of Spider-Man?
No, I hear that all the time. But I think the jury's still out on that. I haven't seen much evidence to that.
I have an image here, but clearly, like Spider-Man has 2 fingers down.
Right.
Spawn only has 1, so
his one finger.
And see, his
also,
left,
you'll notice that
his right leg is up.
His right leg is up.
His satanic powers are only triggered by 1 finger. That is correct.
Yeah.
Wait, is that really a thing?
No.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
That's really strong fingers.
Yeah.
He does. Landon, we do have Spawn a little bit further down the list with other people as well, so I'm not gonna comment on him just yet. But Jen, what did you have as your number 4?
My number 4, I will not really talk too much about because we'll see him again later, is Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. Let me just say that if I had to be stuck in a zombie apocalypse, much like all these characters, I would want Rick to be my leader.
What's his actor's name in the show?
Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln.
Mhm.
I saw him in an interview one time and heard him speak in his like British accent for the first
Yeah.
time. It blew
Whoa.
my mind.
Have you ever seen Love Actually?
Yeah, he's in
So
that too.
I mean, SNL spoofed it a couple of
Mhm.
times, but the scene where the guy like drops
Yeah.
the cards, that's him
Mhm.
in the British love comedy or anyway Christmas movie that does the like card dropping for Keira Knightley, and very much different from playing Rick Grimes for sure.
You know, have you ever heard, like, I've heard a lot of British people say that. They said that is the easiest American accent to do is the Southern drawl.
I definitely feel like that could be true because like
Yeah, that's what
because
they
it's
say.
not because it's so like kind of loose with like what you can like how things are pronounced. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it seems like it could be an easier one than like a more like posh American accent if posh American accents exist.
And so the British accent that we all know is actually a thing passed down by the aristocracy, where they changed from the common speak of the British folk, and it is actually more close, or the original British accent is closer to the Southern accent that we know than it is to the British accent that we're familiar with.
They changed it.
Yeah, which is why it is believed, or why it is widely accepted that Shakespeare sounds better in a Southern accent than it does in a British accent, because it's closer to the accent it was written in.
Let's just not.
That's a thing.
But
anyway,
I could see that. I'd like to hear a Southern rendition of any of
you
my
can
Romeo and
almost certain
Juliet.
that
use your
exists.
headphones.
Yeah, that's somewhere. Yeah.
Hamlet.
Randy, what'd you have for number 4?
So what I did, I haven't read a lot of Image comics, so I read like on their website you can read the first issue of like any of them. So I went and found a bunch to read, and so I only know like the first bit of these characters. So if they're like horrible people, let me know.
I mean, it's
but
Image comics,
it's,
so more than likely they
yeah.
are.
Oh, I saw so much nudity and so many peepees and boobies in all of the first issues. This company loves to just have as many, but but her name is Rowan Black from the series Black Magic.
Oh my god, he said peepees instead of dicks.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to not get demonetized. I don't know if it doesn't matter. We're
a TVMA show. What are you?
True.
Anyway,
But
peepees it is.
Don't censor my peepees and tatas or whatever I said before. But Rowan Black, she's from the series Black Magic. And it starts out as like this. It's all in black and white, and I guess maybe it's a thing when she uses her powers, it gets a flare, like a flash of color. But it really pops in this, where it's like the full spread is like in color, where the whole thing had been in black and white. And it starts out she's at like a seance and like recharging her powers, like with her coven, or doing just some ritual for the full moon. And then she gets a phone call. Like, you don't know what era this is set in, and then she gets a call on her cell phone, and they're like doing this ritual, and like the leader is just like, who fucking didn't silence their phone? Like, she'd been spewing, like not spewing, she'd been spewing like, oh, to the great mother of time, like as the sun rises, we blah blah blah. And then then the phone keeps ringing, and she's like, who didn't fucking silence their phone? And then like it's a call from work, and there's a hostage situation. She's a police officer, she's like a detective. And she's like, why are you calling me, kind of thing, like I'm not a hostage negotiator. And she gets there, and this like a burger joint has like 4 hostages, and he wants to talk to her, like he wants her specifically. So she like, negotiates, goes inside to get the hostages released, and then he's like possessed or something, like he's under someone's control to like whatever. And then whenever she tries to, like, she's like trying to talk him down and being like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then like when he tries to shoot her, or he tries to burn her alive, because he's like, you're a witch and this is how you deal with witches. And she like says some like incantation where it's like, this fire will burn you if you set me on fire. And then this image pops up. It seems really cool. The art style is gorgeous. Like every panel, like this one is like the splash page, but every panel is like this detailed and just like real true to life. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah,
if
I'll
I
have to
have
check
the-
that out. That looks really cool.
Yeah, it seems really cool. I want to look it up.
Yeah.
This is from 2016,
Okay.
and
So
I
it's
don't know
pretty
how
new.
long it is, but yeah.
Only 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we have in chat?
We have
Yeah, I think that's his number 4.
yeah, number 4 is Savage Dragon, which
Savage Dragon is a great choice from Image Comics, and I do have a little spiel about that as well that I'll be getting into here in a minute.
yeah. Benjamin Stewart's is Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass is a great comic. The comic is better than the movie, but they did a good job with the movie as well, especially with Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy.
I was gonna say that's my favorite part. There's
Yeah.
that movie. I don't care about the rest of it, but the part with Big Daddy and Hit Girl at the end is awesome.
Yeah, Zoe, what's Chloe?
Grace Moretz.
Yeah, Chloe Grace Moretz was a great option as Hit Girl, and then obviously in the comics, Hit Girl's like 8 years old, and Chloe Grace Moretz grew up a little bit faster than the comic book Hit Girl did. But like after they finished Kick-Ass, they went on and gave Hit Girl her own comic as well, and like that ran for a while. Like they wrung every bit of money out of that franchise that they could. But yeah, the original comic's really good, and the subsequent sequels don't really make sense because they kind of shoehorn them in after the original. But it's a good thing. Enjoyed Kick-Ass for sure. And then Ben said, everyone knows you throw a witch in the river, and if they float, they're a witch, and if they don't, they aren't a witch. Absolutely. If they survive, they're a witch. Easiest way to find out. My number 4 is another Wolverine analog from the Image universe, and that is Ripclaw from Cyberforce. Now, granted, there were some more egregious Wolverine ripoffs in the time that they did that they had these Image comics, but like they were very unabashed about the fact that X-Men was the most popular comic in the world at the time. And so they had multiple X-Men teams in Image, and one of them was Wildcats, one of them was Cyberforce, but there were a bunch of them, like everywhere. And I believe I looked it up. Image had like 6 different Wolverines at one time, and one of them actually is in Wolverine's costume with different colors. But they were all in Image comics. Like there was just a bunch of them. But Ripclaw is very close to the original Wolverine in that he has a healing factor. He grows claws out of his hands instead of the like 3 claws. All of his fingers turn into claws, but he has the ability to like change, like shapeshift from like normal hands to like clawed hands. Now then he gets put into a government program that tries to like upgrade his abilities, and they give him cybernetic hands that have the ability to also turn into claws.
Huge
upgrade,
move right there.
which is why he fits into Cyberforce.
Now it has a subscription to it.
He's also the Native American savior. It was Ripclaw's job to save all of the Native Americans in the United States. He's originally from the Iroquois Nation, but then he joins the Apache Nation and all of the other Native American tribes. And it was his job to save them all within Image Comics and lead them to the Promised Land, which was a weird thing. But if you want to bring that Ripclaw image back up real quick, again, close enough without getting sued. So Ripclaw doesn't have the yellow and blue and black spandex that Wolverine is known for, but if you look at the shape of his head, he has the Wolverine shape with his hair. If you also look in the shoulder slashes, he's shirtless there. That is him without a shirt on. That's just his skin, but he's got the slashes from Wolverine's costume in red on his body. And then just red. He wears red tights as pants.
This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like Lady Deathstrike fingers,
right,
on a Colossus torso with a sinister head.
Yeah,
with a Vegeta, weirdly, Widow's Peak, and then Omega Red's like ponytail.
Kind of, but like the more you dive into the art behind Ripclaw, he was very much just a Wolverine analog. I'm trying to think there was what the name of the other one was that was literally just Wolverine's costume, but we can get into that later. But so what happened is people who worked on the X-Men comics came to Image, created X-Men teams with very much the X-Men. Wildcats, had Grifter, who was very much just Gambit. all over again, and you see it all the way throughout. There's a lot of it, like Preacher, who is the original character that killed Spawn, and then they retconned that later, was very much just the Punisher. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But that is my number 4, Ripclaw. Landon, what do you have as your number 3?
All right, number 3, it's Spawn. A classic Image Comics character, been around since the very beginning, foundational for the whole thing, equal parts heartbreaking and visceral, and not to mention, for most of Image Comics history, was the reason it was on the map. Like, let's be real, like, it does have some other good ones. Savage Dragon is notable, but let's be real, Spawn was paying the bills for Image Comics for a long time.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
He was everywhere. He's even been on this list 3 times. And I love Spawn. I really do.
Do you?
I do.
Now I've heard this, but I don't know if it's true.
What? What have you heard?
That he's a ripoff of Spider-Man?
No. No.
Is
But
it?
I have these images here.
What? You came into this with ammo?
As like defending my client, or I guess it'd be the prosecutor. I know so little
Landon,
about
I don't
Spawn.
want to comment on this because I think Spawn might make an appearance further down the list, so we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, great choice on your number 3.
Yeah, I really hope this bit pays off.
Jen, what did you have as your number 3?
My number 3 is Death from East of West. So in this comic is a sci-fi Western apocalyptic story centered around the 4 horsemen. Death in this story has a family and something goes wrong, so he has to go on a quest to rescue them. And there's just something about kind of like humanizing Death. He's got a family, he fell in love, he's trying to save them. Like, Play's got a job to do with the apocalypse. I mean, busy kind of guy. But I don't know. For some reason that just always intrigues me. Especially if you guys watch Sandman and how well of a job that they did with that Death. That's another reason why I like that character. I like it when they kind of portray them more than just like someone's coming to take your soul. I like it when they kind of make them a little bit more human. So
yeah, that's something I love about Terry Pratchett is how great Death is in his books, and how he's such an interesting character as well. So yeah, I always like a good pivot on the Death idea.
I was doing my some research on it, and I saw several videos that recommended what was it, east to west, west,
east of west,
east of west.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a chance to read the first issue of that one. But
yeah,
whenever you said this image, I was like, that's a cool image. I don't know what it's from,
Right?
but it looks sick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, what did you have as your number 3?
My number 3 is Emmett Quinton from God's Country. This is one that I had heard about before and like read the first issue. And it seems, I don't think it's a very long one either, but, and again, could be a terrible character, but he's a god who lives on Earth. I don't know how the Pantheon works exactly, but he has a sword called Valofax, I think, something like that. But he is an aging god who has Alzheimer's. Well, it starts where you follow the sun. And his father is having a episode, to the point that the police have shown up. So he goes in to calm him down, and he's very aggressive, very late
With his
dementia.
giant flaming sword.
No, you don't know. You just think he's human at this point, but he's just a big dude who has Alzheimer's, and it's honestly very sad because his wife is saying you need to put him in a home and come back to we moved here and it's just not working out. He needs professional help, care. And then a tornado shows up in the town that evening, and out of it comes a demon, and it's about to kill the son and his daughter. and then like this dude shows up. I don't have that panel, but like with like a huge sword that's like 12 feet long.
It's a good
And
length.
what?
That's a good length.
Yeah. and then
Excessive.
like this image, they're like when like the smoke clears, the demon is gone, and like this dude is standing there who's also like probably 8 feet tall, and the daughter's like, grandpa, and like he says, did you say grandpa? And basically the sword keeps his dementia from progressing as long as he's like making contact with it.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of the story, is like it kind of brings him back, but I think it's like temporary, so it's like a fleeting thing. But and then like God, at the end of the first issue, like another god shows up being like, I want my sword back.
Oh shit.
And then so that's, I think the story is like, do you fight for the sword? Do you give up the sword? Like, you know, and it's supposed to be like sad, cathartic, like the family has their like patriarch back, but is it just temporary? It seems like a very cool, but maybe definitely sad.
Yeah. I love that your number 3 is dealing with dementia, and my number 2 is dealing with something equally as bad. But anyway, what do we have in chat?
Zandalorn says, is the darkness.
Yes. What is his name? Something Estacado. God, I can't remember his first name. But anyway, The Darkness is equal parts horror and superhero comic. He's from like the Witchblade, Jackie Estacado. He's, I believe, spun out of the Witchblade comics. They might have not had been attached at all to begin with, but he has this like genetic ability passed down from throughout his family, where they get this ability to summon the literal darkness and these little like goblins that run around and help them and like do their bidding. And then if they ever have a child, if they ever sire another child, they die and their child takes their place with the darkness. And so one of the big things Jackie has to deal with as the darkness is not getting any of them ladies pregnant he's hooking up with, which doesn't seem like it's that big of a problem, but you know, Jackie likes to go in raw, I guess.
Was this a video game?
Yes, they did make a video game of The Darkness that was, again,
the video game,
a horror game where I can't remember if you played as the Darkness or played against the Darkness. I think you played as the Darkness.
You played as the Darkness.
Yeah. But again, they were trying to make a horror film out of the Darkness as well at one point. So it's like he's like a cool superhero, like tech magic armor, like is what Jackie looks like when he's wearing it. But like their intent to make like movies and video games out of it, you don't really see that at all. It's just like he has this ability to use the darkness as a weapon. But anyway, yeah.
Fun fact, in the game, the film To Kill a Mockingbird is shown. The player is able to watch the entirety of the film if they remain motionless in that particular part of the game.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Next up, we have Rexplode.
Yeah, Ben Stewart's number 3 is Rexplode from the Invincible universe. Rexplode is a great character. He was great in the comics, and then in the show, they really pivoted his story a little bit from the comics version. He definitely lasts a little longer into the story because he dies pretty quickly in the comics. But yeah, the voice actor choice for him, and I can't remember that guy's name right this second, but it was a great choice to voice Rex. He's kind of like Guy Gardner. He's just an asshole. He's hard to like, but he's fun.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas.
Yeah,
I don't know if I said that right.
He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was in The League.
He's a very distinct voice.
Yes, he was in Parks and Rec for a while. But anyway,
the good place.
How did this get made?
Oh yes, yeah, and yeah, he was in The Good Place. Yeah, he plays a lot of like morally gray characters, and like in real life, he's just like the nicest guy. Like that's not who he is as a person, which I think is funny. But anyway, my number 3 is the Savage Dragon. Eric Larson's creator-owned character, and largely for Dragon's like 20-year existence, with more than 20 years now, like 30 5-year existence or 30-ish year existence as a character, Eric Larson has pretty much done every single issue of Savage Dragon ever. Savage Dragon is not necessarily a copy of any one character from comics history, but if you look at him visually, he very much has Superman's face. He very much is drawn in a Captain America like statuesque style as a character, but his story is interesting in that he is a space warlord named Kerr who wants to take over the planet Earth, and two of his assistants turn on him, attack him, and send him to Earth, thinking they've killed him. He gets amnesia. He lands in a cornfield just outside of Chicago. He gets saved by some police officers. They bring him in. He can't remember who he is, so they make him a police officer. And he joins the police force in Chicago, which, being a giant, scary, unkillable green dragon man as a Chicago police officer is probably really, really handy. And he goes on to be the greatest hero of Chicago. But Dragon is cool. He's also like, they did a thing in the 90s where the Image comic characters got cartoon series. So Wildcats got a cartoon series. I think Cyberforce got one, but they didn't last terribly long. But Savage Dragon was the one that went the longest out of that. Dragon follows the model of what Judge Dredd did. And I think this is one of the only other comics to do so, in that every year that passes in our time passes in Savage Dragon. So Dragon has aged progressively with that, and the cast has aged progressively with that, to the point where his young son is now an adult and is the current Savage Dragon in the comics. So I think that's also something really interesting that they've done, because 2000 AD is one of the only other comic series to have ever done that. That's with really cool. The Judge Dredd character. But anyway, Landon, what do you got for number 2?
All right, my number 2, it's Scud, the Disposable Assassin. Yes, I'm done with the bit. Comedy is in rules of 3. I'm done with the bit. Here you see Scud as with his good friends, Doc and Marty. Scud, the Disposable Assassin. He attempts to kill a guy on contract, and he manages to put the guy in a vegetative state. So, unlike what he's supposed to do, he doesn't blow up and self-destruct. The guy who has signed him the contract is happy, but he's like, I don't want to die. Scud's like, I don't want to die. So he takes on other contracts to try to keep the person he put into a vegetative state alive so that he can go on and live his life. Now, I want you to imagine your classic smart mouth character, but the world around them is just as crazy and as insane as you can imagine. So they end up weirdly playing the straight man a decent chunk of the time. And you have Scud, the Disposable Assassin.
Yeah.
It's great. He's also hyper violent, just like most Image comic characters.
I love Scud. He kind of occupies that same space as Deadpool, in that he's a morally gray assassin that likes to make jokes while he's killing people. Dude, I can't say much more about it, but I really got into Scud for a minute there. I read a lot of his comics, and he's just a fun character. Like, the premise is the premise, and he lives within that world, and they just do a good job with it.
Mm-hmm. Like I was talking about before we started the show, it's been a hot minute since I've read Scud comics. I want to get back into. I want to buy some more again. But it is, even though I haven't read them in a while, Scud has stuck with me. It's just a really fucking good character.
This list has definitely made me is going to make me spend money, because I need to buy some of these to read, and I like having the physical copy, because I was reading these one issues on my on my computer screen, and I was like, this hurts my eyes. I need these on paper.
And so Jen, what did you have as your number 2?
My number 2 is Mark Grayson, Invincible. The biggest reason why I really enjoy Invincible is because the fact that this guy is, coming into his powers, he's learning his strength, and he finds out what his dad is doing, and he has to fight his father.
Literal space Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine having to fight my dad and like you're basically the defender of Earth. Like that, what a huge responsibility to put on someone so young, and the fact that he did it, and it's just that stuck with me.
And it would be completely different if Omni-Man had been a piece of shit father prior to that. But no, he's like loving and caring and there for him and dadding him and teaching him and raising him. They play catch. Like they're like, he's there. Like he's a present father who clearly cares about his son. And then turns out, hey man, I was kidding the whole time. Humans are basically like pets to us, and I'm just going to destroy the planet if you join me. And he's like, what, Dad, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, just came out of left field a little bit, but hey,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a series like I hadn't really heard of before the show came out, and it seems daunting to undertake because I've tried to rent it from the library, and they only have the omnibus that's like
it's the first several
like a lethal weapon because of how big it is, and also like I'm like, if I check this out, it's gonna just fall apart on me. Like it's been used so much, but I definitely want to read it. But I'm also like, do I want to read ahead? But
you should go ahead and read
I've had things
because
anyways.
They're not necessarily following the story verbatim for the animated series, so you're still gonna get some surprises in there. But it's such a good comic.
Yeah, and don't worry, Randy. If for every time you're worried about getting spoiled for something, there are 50 Invincible comic fans who will gladly spoil it for you online with or without your consent. It does not matter. You will be spoiled with something already. Yes, I know, Danny.
I just can't wait for Nyssa, is that her name, to come back. She seems like one of the cooler Viltrumites. Right? I've had it spoiled. I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. She was going to be on my list and make a joke, but
Jen's face.
Yeah. She is. Yeah. From what I have heard, she is one of the biggest monsters.
Yeah. Initially, yeah, for sure. Yeah. What do we have in chat? Wait, did we do yours? We didn't do yours.
No.
Randy, what's your number 2?
My number 2. Speaking of, I think did you say Mega Bitch?
Yeah, that's what Jen said.
That's a perfect segue because it's a comic called Bitch Planet. And
is that where I'm from?
It is. I don't think so. Well, depending on the author.
Do not comment, Randy.
The author.
Be like, if that's what you think, Jen, then we'll allow you.
This is a comic that, like, honestly, there's like a little, like, not even a little, like an article at the end of it where she like talks about it, like the author. And according to her, we're already on Bitch Planet because the premise of this is there is another world where if a woman is not compliant, according to a man, subjective to a man, they get sent to this planet, and it's like a prison planet.
Is it?
Yeah. And but like, and you have to pay penance, and they have like all this like hyper technology, and the first issue is really solid, and it introduces, you don't get a lot of story yet, but you get introduced to all the main characters, and each one of them has been sent there for a different reason. Either they don't stand up to beauty standards or whatever. But the character that I have, her name is Penny Roll. She is like a larger woman, and whenever you arrive at this planet and come out of like hyper sleep or whatever, you are given like a pair of clothes to wear that is like supposed to be to your size. And she gets hers, and she says, where am I supposed to put, like, it's a smaller size than like she thinks she needs, but the guards are like, it's your size, put it on, like don't complain or whatever. And she's like, where am I supposed to put my other tit? And then they're like, just put it on, like, don't talk. And then like they like hit her with like a nightstick, like they kind of bludgeon her and be like, don't, whatever. And like the other women kind of come to her aid, like being like, why did you do that? And then she turns around and does this after they tell her to put it on again. And she's nude in this. I blocked out like what you could see. And
Movies.
This is like one of the greatest images in all of comics, in my opinion. But yeah, where am I supposed to put my tits? And then I'm pretty sure for the rest of the series, her, like, she has overalls and only one of them is buttoned. because the other one like will not encompass her chest. I don't know if that's why, but like she wears it like one strap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this comic. It's like very poignant so far, and like written by a woman, because there's another one that I have on here where it's like it seems good, but it's written by a man. So I'm like, I don't know if the perspective is great. We were talking about Alex Garland. He wrote the screenplay for Men. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's
I've
a
not.
decent movie, but it kind of gets lost in its own like white knighting a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's written by him and it's about like a woman's experience. So I'm like, I don't know. So like this one is like, you know, a sci-fi, but it's a woman's experience or women's experience in the world.
Check it out.
Yeah, but it's from like 10 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2015. So I'm wanting to get into this one as well.
All right.
Yeah,
what do we have in
called
chat?
Bitch Planet.
Interesting.
Let's see. We have Zandalorn's number 2 is Spawn. I mean, it's the OG. I think he's a Spider-Man.
No, I'm starting to think he might be a Spider-Man.
I've
never heard that before, so I don't think so.
And then
You haven't heard this,
Black
Randy.
Mac threw his 5 through 2 up on the chat.
We got 5 Abaddon,
Good one.
4 Mark Grayson,
Invincible.
3 Midnighter,
Yes.
2 Rick Grimes.
I love Midnighter.
Who's Abaddon?
He's a comic character.
Cool.
So then my number 2 is from Image Comics, very much the early days. It is Shadowhawk. Now, Shadowhawk is known, you can go ahead and throw it up there. Shadowhawk is known as Image's version of Batman. So for this one, they weren't necessarily copying Image. They started to copy Batman. Now, the thing is, it was a big reveal in the Shadowhawk comics what Shadowhawk's actual identity was, which character in the comic was actually Shadowhawk. But one of the things you were talking about, the character dealing with dementia, one of the running things was that not only was Shadowhawk dealing with being a nocturnal superhero trying to save the city, he was also dealing with being HIV positive while doing it. So in the 90s, we were in the middle of our HIV epidemic, and I think it's like Mark Silvestri thought that the best thing to do was to create a superhero who was part of the HIV epidemic. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's, the nature of the story is great. I think where we really run into a problem is that he was a black man, and that it was like, not only were you leaning into the HIV epidemic, but you were leaning into kind of the stereotypical problem that people were seeing with HIV at the time, and then also trying to make a hero. That being said, I think Shadowhawk is cool as fuck. I would also go so far as to say that he's not just a Batman ripoff. He's another character that Marvel has been known as Marvel's Batman, which is Daredevil. I'd say Shadowhawk is very much inspired by Daredevil as well in his comics origin, but just a really cool character.
Huntress and like Hawk Girl.
I would say he's like a merging of like Moon Knight, Batman, and Daredevil into one character.
Who's he kicking?
But he just the air. He's
kicking the cameraman.
Yeah. But yeah, known as Image's Batman, Shadowhawk is my number 2.
I really like this.
Landon, are you ready to give me wet the pipes? Your number 1. Landon, your number 1, please.
My number 1 character is the Max.
Ooh.
I'm surprised I haven't seen him before at this point, but God, the whole story, the whole comic story of just 3 broken people and their delusions colliding in the way that they do is just insane and really heartbreaking in the storytelling. It's something that stuck with me when I first saw a couple of the cartoons on HBO, or was that MTV?
MTV.
MTV. On MTV, and I read the comics and just it's crazy. It really just stuck with me.
Yeah, visually striking too. Max was
Mhm.
always very visually striking. I think that the artist behind it was very good in that they created kind of like Bone or some of the comics that kind of eschew the typical art styles of comic medium and do something on their own. Like Scud the Disposable Assassin is a good example as well. But yeah, I think I think Max was just cool. I always really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Plus, know a bit of perspective, or I know a bit about the perspective from social workers and how they see things. So that kind of also helped with me in understanding and relating just a little bit more to the story as well.
And Jen, what did you have as your number one?
Uh, my
Come
number
on,
one
Jen.
is Spawn.
Oh, that is a great choice.
Awesome
Thanks.
choice.
So I picked this for sentimental reasons. I remember this came out in 1997, and I remember my brother and I went and watched this at the movies after he watched it with one of his friends, and he told me so much about it. I was like, bro, I want to go. So he took his little sister to the movies, and
Oh,
it's, I know that the effects and everything were dated, but his cape was the most amazing thing that I saw on screen. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then his fights with the Violator. I mean, John Leguizamo does such an amazing job. Anyways, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about Spawn. But yeah, Spawn was just, yeah, I love the character and everything that, that he went through. And
yeah, the story of Al Simmons being a wet works operative who he had a very high kill count that ensured that he was never going to make it into heaven, sacrificing himself or sacrificing his soul in order to get back to the woman that he loves, in order only to be tricked by Malbolgia, the devil, into being returned years later as opposed to immediately, to find his wife has already moved on with his best friend, is such an interesting idea for a show or for a comic book character. And then characters like the Violator, John Leguizamo in the Violator fat suit for Spawn looks so good. The practical effects on it was so good.
he's clowny. I loved it.
And despite the initial idea of Spawn just being like a new way for Todd McFarlane to tell the Spider-Man stories that Marvel wouldn't let him tell at the time, it very much evolved into something of its own. Spawn has a lasting legacy. He's one of the coolest looking comic characters of all time. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason Spawn's still going to this day, because he's different. He's very different from your typical comic character. And he's cool. Like, Spawn is just so cool. I think when I was like, God, I want to say I was like 13 years old, I went to Spawn for Halloween, and I had like the muscle chest, the Spawn mask, the cape,
That's awesome.
and the cape had like a chain that attached to it. I think I paid like $60 for this costume at Spencer's.
Oh.
And it was like the coolest Halloween costume I'd ever pulled off out of a bag that I didn't make myself. So there's a lot of staying power to the character. And Spawn is just a really cool character, so that's a great choice for number one.
Thanks.
Randy, what'd you have as your number one? My number one is, again, one that I haven't read fully, but read the first issue of, and it seems really fun. It's the letters on it are MCMLXXV, which is Roman numerals for 1975. And it's basically Pamela Evans is the character. She's a cab driver in Manhattan, but she also has a enchanted tire iron.
Cool.
And she fights off like monsters and ninjas, and there's just like seems to be a lot of sci-fi stuff going on at night in the city.
Yeah.
And she's kind of just a badass. So you see here fighting like the Foot Clan is kind of what they look like. But yeah, this seems like just a really cool series, and the art is gorgeous in my opinion. Like that image of the like monsters in the background, or like whatever, are just the waves of monsters, and then like that cover image of her holding the tire iron, just it looks so cool. And the first issue was very fun, which this is all from the first issue.
This reminds me kind of that Jonathan that it was a book series before, but then it was an HBO series. And the guy that was going to play Kang, Jonathan, or that was playing Kang, Jonathan Majors, was in it. It was something County. God, it was on HBO. Lovecraft County. Yeah. That series it takes place in like the like 1920s era America, but it's stories of like Lovecraftian horror happening to Black people because of white people. So it handles like the racial and cultural divide in a Lovecraftian narrative, which I always thought was really cool. And this seems like it kind of pulls from like a similar place.
Yeah. I would say it's really cool, and it seems like to be from the first issue, like well written and everything, but it is written and illustrated by two white men. So I don't know how like in touch, like I said, with like the show Men,
at least they're allies.
Men. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how like true it is to like, you know, that, but it's supposed to be sort of like, rather than like a superhero, like a folk hero, kind of like, I like the image to me kind of Paul Bunyan with like not Paul Bunyan. Oh my gosh. What is his name?
I don't know.
He's a steel driving man.
Oh, John Henry Irons.
Yeah. Like with him,
John
like
Henry.
That's kind of
sorry. I named the DC Comics character instead.
But yeah, that kind of like that's what it reminds me of, but instead of like a sledgehammer, it's a tire iron.
Yeah.
So it just seems like a really cool story. I don't know if it's very long either, but yeah, that's my number one.
Cool. What do we have in chat?
In chat we have in Nerd King's voice, number one is
who's number one?
Black Mac.
Okay.
Spawn.
It was so good, Randy.
Yeah, I don't have the pipes like you do.
Yeah, for all the reasons we listed whenever Jen listed her number one pick Spawn, and for some of the reasons that Landon listed, whatever he listed as number 5, 4, and 3 of Spawn. Spawn is just a great character with a huge lasting legacy.
I say I've never read the comic or anything, but I like you were bringing up the movie. I always remember the cape, and like I pulled up a GIF, but it's too big to show. Spawn
is girthy. And Todd McFarlane has actively been trying to pursue a new live action movie of Spawn, and it has just been like every time he gets a little bit of headway in it, it like kind of collapses. But they are still trying to do a new live action Spawn movie as well. At one point, Jamie Foxx was tied to play Spawn and Al Simmons. And I don't believe he's still on for that. So I don't know what they're going to go with from here. But yeah, they've been trying to do a new Spawn film for like, I want to say like 5 or 6 years now. So moving along.
I think that's all we have in here.
I have an honorable mention below the Spawn one.
Do it.
There's another number one right before the.
Oh, sorry. Zandalorn's is number one is Grifter.
Yeah, Grifter from the Wildcat comic series. Like I said, he is very much a Gambit analog. He's got kind of that same like roguish quality to him. He wears a red mask with black eyes on it. And his thing is that he shoots energy blasts out of his guns. But he's very much like the Gambit of that team. But yeah, good choice. Grifter also went on to like be his own standalone character and show up in like some other cartoons and stuff. Like he's had a lot of staying power as well. My number one is from the world of The Walking Dead. He's been mentioned a couple of times on this list already, but it is Rick Grimes, the main character of The Walking Dead comics. Rick was done dirty in the television series. I like Andrew Lincoln as an actor, but he was never Rick Grimes in the show. Like he just wasn't. Rick is the most badass character in the Walking Dead franchise. He is never outdone by anyone. And even whenever they think they've got him, they don't got him. Like Rick is his greatest ability is surviving and carrying on and just being the baddest motherfucker in every situation. all the way up to him losing an arm at one point in the comics and just doubling down with being even more badass one arm than he was with two arms. And his number one thing is that he's not a good person, but he's got people he's got to take care of. He doesn't give a shit how bad of a person he is, as long as the people he cares about are good. And it distills down to it being a couple of people, his son, his daughter. No, not his daughter. He doesn't have a daughter in the comics. His son, and Andrea at one point, because they're together, which they also fucked up in the show. And then him and
Michonne
in the later comics. Those of you who don't know, in the show, his daughter survives and is one of the little ass kicker and all of that. Like she's still around. In the comics, his wife takes a shotgun blast through the stomach while she's still pregnant, and neither of them survive it. So a little bit different from the show, in that Rick just has the one kid to take care of in the comics. But yeah, a lot of stuff in season 1 that goes to Shane was Rick stuff, like him being the one to make the hard choices, kill all the zombies that people were trying to save, like making the bad decision. Shane dies really early in the comics. He's not around very long, but in the show they gave all of that to Shane instead of letting Rick have it. And Andrew Lincoln was kind of this pouty, wore his heart on his sleeve character that was crying all the fucking time and did the Coral. But that was not Rick in the comics at all. So Rick Grimes, total badass. He's the guy you want on your side in a zombie apocalypse. The one from the comics, not the one from the show. I'd rather have someone else.
But without the coral,
yeah, without all the,
we wouldn't have all the memes.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so this has been our hit list for the Image Comics characters. Next week, we're going to do our 5 favorite worlds we'd like to be isekai'd into. So that'll be a fun list, I think. But for this week, this has been the hit list. Great show, guys. We are just under the 2-hour mark. Thank you to everyone that was in the comments that showed up for the show. We are glad you guys are here. Thank you for interacting, and thank you for being part of the show. It makes it all worth it to us. Landon, Jen, and Randy, in that order, you want to say bye to the folks?
Thank y'all for tuning in, just like always. And audience, people actually watching us is what actually makes this a show. So without you, this would just be 4 nerdy people talking to nothing. So thank you, as always.
Yeah, piggyback on that. Thank you guys for showing up, sharing your most favorite 5 Image heroes. I always look forward to the top 5 because it's always hilarious what people come up with. So I enjoy it. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always fun.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh my god. Great job, Randy.
I shouldn't go last.
Well, for this week, you guys have been great, and we've been Cutting Edge Hero.